Number 10. The leopard that walked into a school. It's just after 4 in the morning at Vibgyor School in Bangalore, India, and the campus is dead quiet. It's a Sunday in February 2016, so no kids, no teachers, just a couple of guards doing their rounds. Then, one of them glances at the CCTV feed and freezes. There's a full-grown leopard padding down the corridor like it owns the building. Forest officials get called in, and what happens next plays out on camera, in front of the world. The animal cornered near the school's swimming pool, and a chaotic, hours-long effort to tranquilize it. At one point, it lunges, chasing grown men across the pool deck, and several of the rescuers, including a well-known wildlife conservationist, end up clawed and bitten. The whole operation drags on for the entire day before they finally sedate it. Somehow nobody dies, and the leopard survives too. Viewers couldn't get over how casually it strolled in. And even now, it's not fully clear how a big cat slipped into a major city unnoticed. Experts blamed shrinking forest habitat pushing them toward people. Number 9. Seconds before it hit. This one's from June 2025, in the small town of Pulaski, Tennessee, at a little spot called Town Square Market. It's an ordinary evening. The owner, Meg Patel, has just stepped up to the register, so one of his employees can grab a break. Ordersa kan me ein employees. Totally routine. On the footage, you watch him ring something up, then casually drift away from the counter. And the timing is almost impossible to believe, because a heartbeat later, a car comes flying straight through the front doors, glass and shelving exploding everywhere, smashing into the exact spot he'd been standing in. A customer who was up at the counter buying a lottery ticket gets pinned and hurt, though thankfully not killed. Patel said afterward the whole thing felt like a movie. The detail people latched onto online was that timing. A couple of seconds either way, and he doesn't make it. And there's a strange little ripple to it. The employee, whose shift he'd just covered, came back and thanked him, because if he hadn't taken over the register, she's the one standing there when the car comes through. Number 8. The man who ran from the airport. Now we head to Bulgaria, July 2014. Lars Mittank, a 28-year-old from Germany, is at Varna Airport about to fly home from a holiday with his friends. He'd hurt his ear in a scuffle a few days earlier, so he stopped by the airport doctor for the all-clear to fly. This is where it gets unsettling. According to the doctor, Lars is trembling, paranoid, and convinced people are out to get him. Then, with no warning, he bolts, leaving behind his bag, his phone, his passport, all of it. The terminal cameras catch him sprinting through the airport and out the doors. Outside, one last camera films him scaling a 2-meter fence and vanishing into a field of sunflowers beside the highway. That's the final image of him anyone has. He's never been seen since. The clip spread so far online that he's been called the most famous missing person on YouTube. Theories run from a bad reaction to his medication, to a mental breakdown, to something darker that scared him out of the country. More than a decade later, his family still has nothing, and nobody has ever turned up. Number 7. The bear and the dog. Let's lighten things up, because not every scary clip ends in tragedy. June 2025, Monrovia, California. A woman named Zoe Cadman wakes up in the middle of the night to a noise, wanders toward her kitchen, and finds a full-sized black bear casually helping itself to her stuff, maybe 10 feet from where she'd been sleeping. Her cameras catch the whole thing, the bear nosing around the counters, completely relaxed, like a late-night fridge-raider. And then the unlikely hero shows up, her 17-year-old dog, Doodle. This little elderly dog squares up to a bear several times its size, barks, holds its ground, and the bear actually backs off and shuffles out the way it came in. Nobody got hurt. When Zoe posted the footage, people were equal parts horrified and delighted, mostly at the sheer nerve of that dog. It's also a reminder of something wildlife officials keep repeating. As neighborhoods push further into the hills, these run-ins are getting more common, and an unlocked door or open window is all it takes. Number 6. Vanished inside the bar. Back to a mystery that still keeps people up at night. Columbus, Ohio, the early hours of April 1st, 2006. A 27-year-old medical student named Brian Schaffer is out celebrating the start of spring break, bar hopping with a friend, and they end the night at a place called the Ugly Tuna Saloona. Cameras at the entrance film him arriving, having a good time, and around 1:45 in the morning, he's seen near the escalators, chatting with 2 women before he steps back inside. And then, nothing. He's never recorded leaving, not through the front, not through any exit police could find. His friends couldn't track him down at closing time and figured he'd gone home. He never did. Investigators pored over the footage, interviewed scores of people, searched the building, and were left with the one question nobody can answer. How do you walk into a bar and never walk out? 20 years on, the clip went viral all over again, with armchair detectives freezing every frame, and the case is still wide open. Number 5. She fought back. February 2026, Montclair, California, inside a small family-run jewelry shop at a local mall. A man walks in and pretends to browse. The clerk on duty, a young woman named Aylin Uhan, doesn't think much of it until he suddenly charges behind the counter, pulls what looks like a handgun, and starts demanding the diamond rings. You can see the pure shock on her face. But then something flips. Instead of freezing, she fights. She grabs at the weapon, refuses to let go, and keeps grappling with him even as he smashes a display case and tries to scoop up jewelry. The footage is almost unbearably tense. It's two people wrestling over a gun in a tiny shop. He eventually gives up and runs. And here's the part that stunned everyone, including her own family who owned the store. She walked away without a scratch. She said later she was terrified, but in the moment, instinct just took over. Police, for the record, very much do not recommend doing what she did. Number 4. The figure no one can identify. This is one of the eeriest unsolved cases in America. January 2006, Orlando, Florida. A 24-year-old finance manager named Jennifer Kessie vanishes on her way to work. 2 days later, her car turns up abandoned at an apartment complex about a mile from her home. And there's footage. Cameras at the complex caught the person who parked her car and walked away. So you'd think there's our suspect. Case closed. Except the camera only snapped a still image every few seconds, and in every single frame, the person's face is blocked by a gap in a fence. Almost like the universe itself didn't want them identified. Investigators believe it's a man in work clothes. The FBI tried to sharpen the images. Even NASA reportedly took a crack at it. Nothing worked. He was bumped from person of interest up to outright suspect, and to this day, he's never been named. Jennifer has never been found. Her family fought for years just to access the case files, and the investigation has recently been reopened with fresh forensic testing. But that blurred figure is still the haunting center of the whole thing. Number 3, the pram on the tracks. I'll warn you now, this one is hard to watch, but it has the ending you're hoping for. October 2009, Ashburton Railway Station in Melbourne, Australia. A mother is on the platform with her 6-month-old son in a pram. For just a second, she takes her hands off the handle and looks away. That's all it takes. The pram starts rolling, picks up speed, and tips clean off the edge onto the tracks. At the exact moment, a train is pulling into the station. The camera captures her horror as she lunges a fraction too late, and the train rolls over the pram and drags it around 30 meters down the line before it stops. Everyone watching braces for the worst. But the baby had been strapped in, and somehow that, plus the train already slowing to a halt, saved his life. He came out with a bump on his head and a graze, nothing more. Paramedics flat out called it a miracle. The clip became a worldwide warning about locking pram brakes on platforms, and eerily, it surfaced just a day after a child safety campaign had launched. Number 2, the woman in the closet. This one rearranges how you feel about being alone in your house. Fukuoka, Japan, 2008. A man living by himself starts noticing food disappearing from his kitchen. Not whole meals, just a little here and there. Enough to make him wonder if he's losing his mind. So he sets up cameras that ping his phone. One day at work, he gets an alert. There's movement inside his home. He pulls up the feed and watches a woman walking around his house like she lives there. Eating his food, settling in to watch his TV. He calls the police, certain a burglar has broken in. But when officers arrive, the doors are locked and the windows shut. No sign of forced entry anywhere. They search the whole place and finally slide open the top compartment of his closet. And there she is, a 58-year-old woman curled up on a little mattress she'd snuck in, surrounded by water bottles. She'd reportedly been living up there for around a year, slipping out to shower and eat while he was gone, even tidying up after herself. She told police she simply had nowhere else to go. Number 1, the Cecil Hotel elevator. And finally, the one a lot of you were probably waiting for, the Cecil Hotel in downtown Los Angeles, a place with a long, grim history. In early 2013, a 21-year-old Canadian student named Elisa Lam was staying there while she traveled. Then she vanished. When police released the hotel's elevator footage, hoping someone would recognize her, it didn't bring answers. It set the internet on fire. In the clip, Elisa steps into the elevator, presses what looks like every button, and then starts behaving in this strange, unsettling way, peering out into the hallway, pressing herself flat against the wall, gesturing with her hands as if she's talking to or hiding from someone you can't see. The doors never close. Then she steps out, and she's gone. Weeks later, after guests complained the water tasted off, a worker found her body inside a sealed tank on the hotel's roof, a part of the building guests weren't supposed to be able to reach. Her death was ruled an accidental drowning, with her bipolar disorder a major factor. But how she got up there alone has fueled theories for over a decade, and that elevator video is still one of the most picked apart clips on the internet. And that's our 10. Some of these have neat explanations, some of them never will, and that's exactly what keeps pulling us back to footage like this. So I want to hear from you. Which one got under your skin the most? Is it the figure behind the fence, the empty elevator, or the woman in the closet you'll be thinking about tonight? Drop it in the comments and tell me if you reckon there's a real explanation for any of them, because I read every single one. If this kept you watching, do me a favor and hit subscribe. I've got a whole episode coming on the creepiest things ever caught on doorbell cameras, and a couple of those are worse than anything on this list. Thanks for hanging out. I'll catch you in the next one. Stay safe out there, and maybe lock your doors tonight.